stage adaptation of Rodolfo Anaya's Bless Me, Ultima, Antonio, a young boy, says to Ultima, his friend and mentor, "Even in my dreams, I have to decide, be a Maris for Papa or a Luna for Mama." Ultima answers, "You can be both, Antonio. Clouds rise from the salt water of the sea and fall as fresh rain. Rivers flow to the seas, and the sea makes the rivers. Everything is connected. Take all that is good and beautiful into your heart. You will grow strong." I read Bless Me, Ultima the first time when I was 18 years old. I read it again when I started writing, and I read it again and again this fall as I prepared to play Ultima in a stage adaptation of the novel. Ultima was a curandera, a traditional healer. She was an old woman in the last year of her life when she left her home on the llano, the plains, to live with Antonio's family. Antonio was a 7-year-old boy torn between the land-based people of his mother's family, the Lunas, and the vaqueros of his father's family, the Marises, between the feminine, life-giving earth and the wandering masculine that blows across the plains of central New Mexico. With each reading, Ultima has revealed a different part of herself to me. The first time, she was healer and bruja, the witch. She freaked me out a bit. I had never met a woman like her, but I kind of wished I had. The next time, I discovered in Ultima and in Anaya's writing the roots of my own stories. I found my literary ancestry, permission to write in Spanish, to tell secrets, to write for and about the people of this place. And the last time I read Bless Me, Ultima, a question surfaced. Why a boy? Why did Ultima choose to spend the last year of her life with a boy? Why not a girl or a young woman? Engaging Ultima as a character I would play on stage forced me to engage this question, to confront this nagging feeling that the masculine seemed nurtured and guided, while the feminine was left to fend for herself. For much of my adult life, in my relationships with men, this feeling has sometimes bubbled over as resentment, anger, even rage. "Your grandpa's gonna live forever," my grandma once told me. "That man doesn't have a care in the world." For most of my life, this was my impression of boys and men. They don't have a care in the world. When I was a little girl, my brothers could run around shirtless on summer days in Deming, New Mexico, where I grew up. As an organizer in El Paso, Texas, I learned that men could abduct and kill thousands of women and never be held to account. As a Fulbright Fellow in Oaxaca, Mexico, I developed and taught a series of Writing to Heal workshops for women survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. Their stories revealed a painful truth that men could easily harm the women and girls they claimed to love most. My maternal grandfather, Florentino Moran, did not live forever. And though my grandma did the heavy lifting of cooking, cleaning, raising children, budgeting, and managing his doctor visits and medications, my grandfather suffered the burden of depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. He was a World War II veteran. He landed at Omaha Beach D-Day +2. And despite decades of therapy, antidepressants, sleep aids, and daily prayers with the santos at his altar, he never released completely his guilt over having to kill another human being. My grandma took care of him, and she once told me, "Micheli, if I die first, I want your grandpa to get married right away." "Won't that make you sad?" I asked. I was 8 years old. "Mija," she kind of chuckled, "he doesn't know how to do anything." It seemed unfair that my grandmother should have to do all of the work. And though I lacked the language to express it, I felt this arrangement was unfair to my grandfather as well. Here's a man who was awarded a Purple Heart, who could fix any car that rolled into his mechanic shop, who coached a generation of Little League baseball players in Deming, New Mexico. And somehow he was incapable of pouring a glass of milk or making a bed. Why did we expect so little of him? As a woman, I am generally more comfortable engaging the feminine. But throughout my life, I have felt a continual tension with the masculine. I grew up with 4 brothers. I was the grandchild who watched most closely as my mother and my grandmother catered to my grandfather. Teaching writing to heal workshops in Oaxaca, I witnessed story after story of women helping men, caring for them, even men who had hurt them. The workshop became a place where they cared for themselves through community, through storytelling, slowly integrating the abuse they had suffered into the larger story of their lives. Their courage enabled me to delve deep into the feminine, to write my own story, to integrate the abuse I had suffered into the story of my life. But that was only half the story. The tension remained. Why did we nurture the masculine and negate the feminine? Why did Ultima choose a boy? Now I live in Albuquerque's Atrisco neighborhood, and I see lots of men like my grandfather. They are not war veterans, but they are survivors. Together with our neighbors, my husband and I run a small organic farm, and our house is the base of operations. I like having people around, knowing that someone is always watching out for us, having the kind of back door that neighbors feel comfortable approaching. And I wish I could count on uninterrupted privacy and quiet when I need it, whether I am alone writing or playing with the kids or catching up with my husband after busy weeks of work and rehearsal. I fear the knock on the door. Henry's not here? It's Jimmy. He works on the farm. He's the one closest to the edge, and he has walked a long way to have a steady job and a place to live. He's not here, I answer. You okay? No, he says. He steps from the doorway into the yard. Why do bad things keep happening to me? He yells, whipping the baseball cap from his head and flailing his arms like he's drowning. I hate God. My son got thrown in jail. He didn't do it. Why do bad things keep happening to me? He won't let me talk. You're trying to get your life together, I want to say. When you do that, things feel great for a while, and then they suck. It's like life is asking how bad you really want it. He won't listen. I don't know what to do, how to tell him to feel, to just shut up and feel. So I grab him by the shoulders. Stop it! Listen. I put one arm over his shoulders and the other across his chest. I've got him in a kind of chokehold. I press my hands against his heart. Breathe, I say. He inhales, exhales. And for 5 long breaths, he is still and quiet. It's okay, I say. It's hard. You're not alone. Okay, he says, let me go now. And then there's Juan. He's 9 years old. He lives next door, and sometimes he stops by our house just to chat. He came that same day Jimmy's son got thrown in jail. Do you still have carrots? Henry said you have purple carrots. I lead him to the backyard, and we soften the ground with water from the hose. We pull a handful of yellow, orange, and purple carrots from the ground. He goes home with the carrots and a small bag of tomatoes in his backpack. Ultima embodies the feminine and the masculine. She is the ground beneath Antonio's feet and the llano that stirs his soul. She steps off the plains where she has spent her entire life to teach Antonio that he does not have to choose between the moon and the sea, the life-giving earth and the limitless llano, between the feminine and the masculine. Everything is connected. My grandfather, Jimmy, Juan, and Antonio reflect my own inner world. No one walks through this life unburdened. Each of us has a care or two in the world, and I am strongest when I take all that is good and beautiful, feminine and masculine, into my heart. It means something to me now that Ultima chose a little boy with whom to share the last year of her life, a boy with whom to share her wisdom. Ultima's relationship with Antonio is a mirror to my own life. The women tending to my grandfather, the knock at the door, the little boy in the yard asking for purple carrots. In that exchange, from crone to boy child, from feminine to masculine, the circle completes. In that exchange, again and again, I am healed.